This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome into the real post-draft practice squad. Last week's episode.
What we did last week didn't count, huh?
I mean, we did it before the draft. Isn't that kind of like, you can't, we're like talking about what ifs. So it's kind of a weird way to do it. Now we actually saw the draft. We saw the way it played out. And Stroz, we're kind of losers here because we don't even have this anywhere in the rundown. We're both happy, right? Like that, I think that's obvious. We both love the Sewell pick. To me, the dream picks were Sewell or Fields, and they were both sitting there for you. There was a report that came out today, I'm sure you saw, that the Vikings wanted to come up but weren't willing to give a first. That could have been intriguing, trading back if they were willing to give another first. But given what happened, I'm super pumped about it. Also, more that came out on Thursday of the draft that if you're a Lions fan, you could be super pumped out about. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. We're going to get into that at the end of the show. What does that mean in the NFC North? What does that mean in the NFL? Also, Stroz is super uptight about what you can wear on second dates. But first, if you've ever listened to the show, if you've ever talked to me about football, if you know anything about me, you know I hate drafting running backs high. And I'll tell you what, if I remember, I think I was actually pretty fair on the DeAndre Swift pick. I didn't like it. I didn't kill it because I didn't mind the player. If they were going to take a running back, I liked who they got. You know, he was considered by many to be the best running back in the class. I just didn't like taking him in the second round. But I sit here today and I look at what the Lions offense looks like, and Stroz, it's judgment day for the DeAndre Swift pick. And I know that regime's gone. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter anymore. But there is no excuse for DeAndre Swift to be anything short of elite next year. I understand the passing game's probably not going to be anything special, and that'll hold you back some. I'm not saying DeAndre Swift needs to be a top 3, top 5 running back, but I look at the Lions offense and I say that offensive line should be damn good. You spent a high draft pick on DeAndre Swift. You went out and got a good backup running back, in my opinion. The Lions running game should be top 10 next year. And if it's not, DeAndre Swift isn't good enough to justify the pick you took him at. He's just not. Because if you need to have a great offensive line and a great passing game for him to be top 3rd, I'm not talking top 5, for him to be top 3rd, then maybe it points out to what I've said. There's no value in drafting running backs that high. Because he has the offensive line now, right? There's no reason to believe this offensive line shouldn't be great. Not good, great.
I think the offensive line should be great probably next year. I think this year you're going to have to try to figure out a few things.
No.
Why not? So look, you're going into a season. You're going into a season where you're not getting any OTAs. You're going into a season where your preseason is going to be limited or virtual. So like installing a game plan, I feel like is just another obstacle and a hurdle for this brand new coaching staff to overhurdle.
Running the football is just running forward. If you have a good offensive line and a good running back, you have a good game. You have a good running game. I'm not asking him to be Saquon Barkley. I'm saying that, and believe me, I think the Lions are gonna suck. But I'm saying there is one aspect that I can't look at 11 teams in the field and say that they've invested more in it. There are not 11 teams in the league who have invested more in their running game than the Lions. And I'm including all the offensive line picks. I understand that those are also about pass blocking, but offensive line is a position where guys come in and regularly perform right away. Especially when you're talking about a guy, like, that's the possibility too, right? Sewell could suck. You never know. But Penei Sewell is the highest graded Pro Football Focus offensive lineman ever.
I think the issue with Sewell is he's a left tackle and you're trying to fit him in at right tackle. So he's got to learn that position. And I'm not saying that he can't, and I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying there's a bit of a learning curve there. Also, you brought up the passing game. The passing game's not going to be very good. No, we both agree on this, right?
I mean, your number one receiver is probably Tyrell Williams.
Right, and that's not good at all. So now you're going to bring in, if you're a defense, all you can do is stack the box all day. So, I mean, and then you figure if they bring up a couple, you figure they bring up another safety because they're not going to respect your passing game. And on top of that, I think we've discussed Goff doesn't really throw deep, and if he does, he doesn't throw deep well. So there's no reason to have safeties back there to cover anything. So literally, you bring them all up.
What the fuck is the purpose of a running back if he can't be top 30% with this offensive line?
I don't know if we know exactly what this offensive line is going to be. I think we look on paper, right? And we're like, this should be a really good offensive line. And hopefully it is. But I don't know. Like, I'm taking the wait and see approach on it. And I get what you're saying. And there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. You've invested a ton in this running game, whether it be in the offensive line, who all these guys are young. All these guys have been drafted, and all these guys have been drafted recently.
Hey, you have 3 first-round draft picks in the last 5 years or 6 years on the offensive line.
You add in a second-round running back who looks like he can do just about everything, and then you add in a nice piece from free agency. On top of that, you add in a 7th-round pick who might be your basher. So you've invested a ton in this running game, and it should perform. It should be good.
Here's the thing. I don't
think this is going to be a good football team next year. So I think it's unfair.
I'm not even criticizing DeAndre Swift or saying I don't think he's good enough to make this a good running game. But like, I think what I'm asking for here is so like it needs to be like focused on, because I'm not asking for an elite running game. I'm asking to do one thing well, not even great. Your defense is gonna suck. Your passing game is gonna suck. I'm saying that you should be an above average running offense because you've poured all the resources in the world into it. And I do believe this. If the Lions fail to be a good running team, it means one of a couple things. The gut instinct to me is that DeAndre Swift is a bust. He wasn't worth the pick. Because if you have a good running back, if you have somebody who justifies a high 2nd-round draft pick at running back and a good offensive line, you should be successful. But if that's not the case, it means one of two things. It means either the coaching staff is never, ever, ever, Stroz, going to give you a running game, or it means DeAndre Swift was a bad pick. And I guess hopefully, like, if it doesn't happen, you say that one. You say, okay, hopefully DeAndre Swift is just a bust because he's a running back and I don't really give a crap if he's a bust. I just watched year after year after year after year expectations be put on Matt Stafford, and justifiably so. He's a quarterback. I get that. I'm just asking for such a small amount of success here. I get that the passing game is going to make things tough, but I also think a lot of teams are going to say, go ahead and run the damn football. You're not going to beat us on the ground. We're not playing football in the 90s.
I like how it's gone from being top 10, right? That's where you started, to being good, which is
top 10 is good.
Top half.
15 is middle. 16 is the literal middle. I'm not acting like 10 is not great. Do you think top 10 is something to be praising?
I think if they had a top 10 running game, I think we'd all be excited about that.
I think it's a nice little green check mark in the box of something you can do well.
I mean, when was the last time they had a top 10 running game?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to grade it in the context of the Lions, it's a big deal. But when you grade it in the context of the league, it just means it's something you do well. Mm-hmm. If you're top 10 at everything, but not top 5 at anything, I still don't really know. Like, you're a Super Bowl contender, but you're not a favorite.
You're a playoff team for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know that there's a team in the league that's top 10 in everything. But the point that I'm trying to make is I don't think top 10's asking very much.
Okay.
I think they're being pretty reasonable here.
So let me tell you this. I want you to understand this. I agree with you, okay? I agree with much of what you're saying. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect DeAndre Swift to have a good season next year. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect this running game to be light years ahead of where it was last year, 2 years ago. You can go back even as far as 3 years ago.
There's never been a situation where they had this much invested in the offensive line.
And I agree with you 100%. All right. I don't know what this offense is going to look like, and I don't know how these pieces are going to be utilized. I think we can both agree Vaitai probably shouldn't be on the offensive line. If he is, he should be slid into the guard position and probably used as a rotational piece. Myself, I think that right side should look more like Sewell and Terrell Crosby. And Vaitai could be a rotational guy at best. Maybe even cut, save yourself some money. I don't know. But
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they save a whole lot of money if they move on from him this year.
No, it's next year.
Yeah.
But anyways. I don't think you're out of line for your expectations and your demands. All right. I don't know if top 10 for this team, because this team is just so devoid of talent in a lot of different places. And this is going to be a pretty young team next year. I don't know if demanding top 10 is where we can see eye to eye. I think top 15. I think top 15. I think we're in the same ballpark.
I mean, average? Like, what are we doing here? All I'm telling you.
What were they last year? Last year they were garbage. I'll pull up the stat right now. Last year they were trash.
Third least, but they ran the ball third least too.
So I mean, like, you want this team to go from being in the very, very bottom to being in the top third of the league?
Yeah. If DeAndre Swift is any good, yes. If you're investing a second round pick in
how many touches does DeAndre Swift have to have for you next season? Or like what is his touch count? 200?
Oh, I said 300.
300
is probably a little excessive, but 250, 275.
I don't know if he can hold up for that.
Well, then why are you taking him in the second round? That's the
I didn't take him in the second round.
But the only point I'm making, I'm not trying to criticize this regime. All I'm saying here, right now, is that you have this year determines whether or not DeAndre Swift was a good pick. And if he's not a damn good running back this year, it tells me he was a bad pick. That's all I'm saying. And honestly, and I wanted to get into this a little bit too, I think TJ Hawkinson, basically we get to see what he's made of this year, because TJ Hawkinson should be your number one receiver. I like what he's done so far a lot. Whether or not you like where he was picked, honestly, I don't like where TJ Hawkinson was picked. I don't like where DeAndre Swift was picked. All I'm telling you is those two pieces from the previous regime, we're going to really get to see how they play out here. Because if DeAndre Swift isn't good enough to give you a good running game, you should have never taken him where you did. If TJ Hawkinson isn't ready this year in year 3 as your number one receiver, if he's not ready to be a number one receiver, I'm talking like, I think 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns is like a totally fair mark. If he can't do that, or at least very, very close to that, then he's not good enough either. That doesn't mean they're not good pieces. Eric Ebron's a great example I'll give, right? Eric Ebron never lived up to the draft, where he was drafted. And he got a lot of hate. He's a good football player. He still is a good football player, but he never lived up to where he was taken. That's all I'm saying about these guys. If they don't show out this year, I would say they deserve all the hate that Eric Ebron received. Both of them.
I want to go a little bit further with Hawkinson. Hawkinson has to show that he's your best player on offense this year.
Well,
I think hands down going. Now I'm going to say best player.
That's silly.
Best player. He's your best offensive weapon that you have.
Maybe.
Who?
No, I'm saying, I'm saying between him and Swift, he has to show that he is your best weapon. I won't say he has to show you he's your best player. You have a Pro Bowl lineman. You
do, but I think TJ Hawkinson has to take that next step.
Yeah, I agree.
To show that he is an elite, or at least budding elite tight end next year.
Less than a top 5 tight end would be unacceptable.
I agree, 100%.
You don't have to be Travis Kelce this year. You don't have to be Kittle. Maybe Mark Andrews if he stays healthy in Baltimore. And that's less about him and more about the situation he's in. I don't know though. I don't see why you can't ask him to be a Zach Ertz or Dallas.
I think he needs to be a top 5. He needs to be a top 5 tight end next season. He has to. I think if either one of those guys has to validate their position and where they are, it's Hawkinson over Swift.
And I don't even necessarily disagree with that, I guess. The reason I bring up the DeAndre Swift thing is because
you hate running backs.
Sure, I hate running backs. We don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is, to me, this is an opportunity to prove to you how stupid it is to draft running backs in the second round. Because, and look, if they have a top running game, yeah, we're both going to sit here and say, look, they were much better than I thought they'd be as a team, right? Because you're expecting this team to win 2 or 3 games. Teams that win 2 or 3 games aren't top 10 in any category. So if they go out there and have that kind of a running game, hey, maybe I was wrong about DeAndre Swift. Maybe sometimes it is worth jumping on a running back. I'm looking at this as an opportunity to prove to you, no, it wasn't. And not only was it not, there generally isn't a good time to jump on a running back. Jumping on running backs high, well, did it work well for Kansas City when Clyde Edwards-Helaire couldn't even take the majority of the snaps in the Super Bowl? Did J.K. Dobbins make a huge difference last year when Mark Ingram was the number 1 running back for Baltimore? Like, it's just, I'm not saying there's no examples, but the Lions, as far as I'm concerned, are going to prove to you this year when they have what will probably still be a much better running game, but not top 10, how dumb it is to invest in running back. They don't change things.
It's funny to me the way you value running backs. It's the way I value wide receivers when it comes to the draft. And I think we both have a small caveat where, yeah, if they look like they're going to be elite, then yeah, you take them early or you take them wherever you can get them. But I feel much the same way you feel about running backs. That's how I feel about wide receivers. I don't feel like you need to invest high in a wide receiver when you can get a good wide receiver later on in the draft, second or third, fourth, fifth round. I think you can get somebody just as good as somebody in the first round.
I would feel a lot better right now if you traded DeAndre Swift for really any of the receivers who were taken off after him. Laviska Shenault, who went to Jacksonville, and with Jonathan, keep in mind, this is with Jonathan Williams essentially being your number one this year.
Yeah.
Jonathan Williams and Laviska Shenault, or maybe not KJ Hamler, but Chase Claypool. We don't know. We're going to see out of Van Jefferson. I'm intrigued by Van Jefferson in Los Angeles. I guess really the two that I'm referring to here are Chase Claypool or Laviska Shenault. I'd feel better with either of those guys at wide receiver and Jonathan Williams at running back. I understand your thoughts at receiver because you can find a lot of them later in the draft. But the difference, I think, is how soon that is. There are a lot of really good second and third round running back or receivers that like maybe you don't need them in the first. Running back, shoot, man, there are good running backs found in the fourth, fifth, sixth. The best rookie running back last year was an undrafted free agent.
That's true.
And that you don't get so much at receiver. I do agree we see them similarly, but I think the drop off or like the drop off in value happens a lot. I don't even know how I'm trying to word this. It's just, I don't mind receivers in the second round. I do still mind running backs in the second round. Running backs, I start taking a lot more seriously in the third, personally.
Yeah. And I get that. I don't know. I feel like much how you feel about running backs being like a dime a dozen, wide receivers are for the most part a dime a dozen. And some of your best wide receivers historically come in the third, fourth, fifth round.
How would you look at this? And we'll move on here in just a second. How would you look at this Lions team this year if Chase Claypool was on the offense instead of DeAndre Swift?
I think it would be much more explosive.
I think it'd be significantly better. And we have the hindsight. Obviously, I'm choosing Chase Claypool, knowing what he did last year. I would rather have Laviska Shenault right now, but it's not obvious. It's not as obvious as Chase Claypool is.
Yeah, I think he would be. I think it would be. The problem is this: as the season unfolds, I think this is going to become a bit of a point of contention for Lions fans and for us with what Jared Goff brings to the table. Claypool is great downfield. He's also good with some underneath stuff. So I think using Goff and using Claypool underneath, I think that would probably be the most explosiveness that you would get out of that offense. Goff isn't great downfield. He has trouble throwing. That was the big issue. That was what led to McVay and him falling apart. Was he just couldn't hit guys downfield when they were wide open. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think it would be more explosive. I think Claypool is, and of course we have hindsight for this.
Right. I'm admitting that I'm getting to pick my favorite receiver who went shortly after.
So I mean,
I get an unfair advantage, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're saying. I think there's a lot of truth there. I think they would be much more explosive, and I think they would be probably a much more lethal team than with DeAndre Swift.
We'll wrap this up here, but I do want to say, as violent as maybe this first segment sounded, I think we're both very happy with the draft. I don't want to get too deep in it because we're like a whole week removed from it happening. We both loved the first pick, and Stroz loving the first pick. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot
by your
to say.
reaction.
Really?
Yeah. You were like, whoa.
I was saying whoa because you were giving them credit. I couldn't believe that you were so happy. But I do want to just kind of put that there and make that a point. We're both happy with what the Lions did in the draft. Now, we will get back to football and what the Aaron Rodgers story means. But, Stroz, before we even get into this, so backstory here, tweet blew up. Somebody tweeted at the Diamondbacks. His friend was at the game on a date and he asked them to show a picture. He wanted an update on how the date was going. Well, the Diamondbacks ended up finding his roommate and got a picture of them. Picture went all over social media. And a female baseball writer said, basically, I would implore straight guys to try harder on dates. What she meant was he's wearing a t-shirt, an Arizona Diamondback spring training t-shirt, some basketball shorts, and a hat that says camera shy.
I say they look like gym shorts.
Sure. I said basketball shorts, gym shorts. Same
for
deal.
Sure. I just want the audience to understand.
She criticized him for it, and she caught a ton of backlash. Before we even, I want to mention that because I thought she got a lot of undeserved hate for her opinion. I understood where she was coming from. I don't agree, and I've asked a lot of other people because I think it's a very interesting conversation. But Stroz, you're the one who brought up doing this topic. You have a problem with what he's wearing.
So I don't have a monumental problem, but what I'm going to say is I wouldn't have wore that. Not on the second date. I don't even know if I would have wore that to the ball game myself. And this is the thing. This is your second date with this person, right? So obviously you liked your first date enough to want to go back out with them. On top of that, you're going to a baseball game. So I feel like you have to try a little bit harder here because, one, not knowing what her interests are, she might not even be into baseball.
Well, I'm assuming he knows her interests.
Maybe. It's a second date.
He knows her interests well enough to know if the baseball game was a good decision.
Okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt here.
What are you doing, Stroz? Most people aren't stupid like you.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt here.
I promise you, he knows well enough whether or not that was a good call. There is no way.
Have you talked to him? Have you been friends with him?
No. There's no way he made the commitment of a baseball game without knowing if that was a good decision.
All right, so look, I wouldn't have worn it.
Look at the picture. Pull up my Twitter and look at the picture. She is enjoying herself.
Well, she's smiling for a photo. She's like photo op, and it was the Diamondbacks Twitter. So yeah, photo op for sure. Of course she's gonna smile. She's looking for her next boyfriend, bro.
All right,
come on.
So what would you have been wearing then, Stroz?
So I probably, depending, again, it's Arizona, so I don't know what the hell the weather's like there. It's probably hot as hell. But if it was like moderately comfortable, I probably would have wore jeans, and I probably would have wore a nicer t-shirt or maybe a button-down shirt.
All right.
Look, I'm gonna give you a prime example.
Moderately comfortable. I doubt it's moderately comfortable in Arizona right now.
That's what I'm saying. Probably not. So like, I don't know. I'm wearing a nice pair of shorts. Like, do you have nice shorts or do you just have gym shorts?
I think I own some golf shorts.
Okay. Those are nicer.
Probably as nice as I'm going to get.
Yeah, that's fine. So something along those lines then. So like not necessarily a cargo short, maybe a set of like chinos or something like that. Something that you could get away with. It's Mother's Day and you're going to a restaurant where you got to look semi-presentable. So probably those and maybe a polo just to be comfortable. I'm going to give you a prime example. So Alyssa and I what was our first date? We had just got done working out, and I even put her on pause. We got done working out, and I was like, hey, you want to grab something to eat real quick? And she was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I was like, cool. I've got to go shower real fast. And she was like, wait, what? I was like, I got to shower real fast. And she was like, we can't just go. I was like, no, I'm not going to go sit in my ball sweat for however long we're at dinner. I'm not doing that. And she was like, okay. She's like, I don't have a change of clothes. I was like, I don't care. I was like, I do. So I showered, got pretty, and then we went to dinner. Mind you, she took a whore bath in the ladies' bathroom. But, look, I myself respect myself enough to present myself well in all situations. Mind you, that night I did also ask the waitress what was her worst sexual experience. But that's neither here nor there, B. You're shocked and amazed.
I'm just failing to understand. He's at a baseball game.
Right. So dress it up a little bit, bro. It's your second date.
Like, you're so dress it up a little bit, bro. Like, actually makes what you're saying is the opposite. You're like, bro, you're at a casual event. Make sure you dress up.
No, what I'm saying is, bro, you're on your second date with this lady. Maybe wear a nice pair of shorts. Maybe wear a polo shirt. Your baseball hat's fine.
Really? Because the baseball hat is one of my biggest issues.
Really?
Yes. You're at a baseball game, so the shirt is like undeniably okay. If you don't think he can wear a Diamondbacks t-shirt to a Diamondbacks game, get the hell off the planet. I don't know.
I think my big contention is the shorts. My big contention is the shorts.
So my biggest issue is the hat, but the shorts. So my initial reaction when I first saw this, the first thought I had is, maybe I'd have gone jeans. But jeans brings about some problems because it's probably 90 degrees.
Yeah, because it's warm, right? So that's like where I was at, where I was like, is it moderately comfortable in Arizona? And it's probably not. That's why we're going nice shorts.
So, but if you're going with this Diamondbacks t-shirt, you can't go with nice shorts. You can't. It's a weird look.
It is a weird look. You're right. It's a weird look. What about a nice pair of cargos? I mean, I don't really think cargos are great, but
you could probably go that route.
If you want to go a little bit more casual but dressy, cargos are okay.
I'm going to stand my ground that there is no circumstance where you're going to a baseball game and you're not okay to wear a t-shirt for that team. That is 100% acceptable. So the shorts that you require must match that. If you want to meet in the middle of cargos, I'm fine with it. The hat is kind of like not necessary, I guess is what I would say. I don't really take issue with anything he's doing, but like the hat is like the laziest part of it to me. The rest of it's about comfort. The hat's not about comfort. That's about lazy.
That's funny.
It's a nice game. You don't need a hat.
On that date I told you about, I totally wore a hat. I'm a hat guy.
Well, what kind of hat?
It was a Tigers hat. I always wear a Tigers hat.
What a fucking, you are something. to sit here and criticize a t-shirt and be okay with a hat to me is
It's
wild.
A baseball game. You should be able to wear a baseball hat at a baseball game.
And you can wear a baseball t-shirt. So our only problem here is the shorts. And even
the shorts are where we're gonna.
And
we're
even
running
then,
into a little
I
bit
didn't
of
have a problem with
here.
it, but I'm a little bit more on your side with it. Also, his baseball hat says camera shy. He should have gone with the Diamondbacks hat. I want to get into one other angle of this that I think is interesting. And I know you do too. Second date baseball game. I don't know that I can do that.
I don't think I would do that either.
So the thing is, it's a baseball game is a long commitment because if you do nothing else at all, you're still probably talking 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. That's 4 hours of you being there. One, you should probably be paying attention a little bit to the baseball game because you paid for it. And two, look, man, baseball can be difficult to sometimes watch. It is slow moving, and you have to also be able to fill in dead air when there's nothing really going on and there's nothing to cheer about. So you got to be able to maintain a conversation with her, watch the game. It just, to me, there's too much going on. You're not giving each other enough attention, I guess.
I had the same reaction where like it's a long game. Things can be slow sometimes. Like you said, a lot of dead air to fill. My thoughts are you need to be able to hold a 4-hour conversation with this person. Yeah. And you might be able to, but like second date, it's a big commitment that like you may not be ready to hold a 4-hour conversation with that person. Mm-hmm. And I said that I was playing games with some people before we started recording this. And I said that to them. And one of them goes, you don't got to talk the whole time. You're at a baseball game. And my gut is no, you have to, if you're not talking the vast majority of that time, you're leaving and probably never seeing that person again.
Yes. I feel like you have to be able to maintain that conversation that entire time. And so the baseball game doesn't really give you an easy out. You know what I'm saying? Like you could probably leave around the 7th inning, which is still what? A 3-hour commitment?
But see,
maybe a 2.5 hour if it's moving fast?
Maybe I'm crazy. Can you leave at the 7th inning and not go do something else?
Well, that's the thing, right? So
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can either. You need some type of escape plan. Like, what are you going to do?
Inning. You can end the day after the 9th inning and that's it. But if you're leaving in the 7th, you're going to dinner or back to one of your places.
You're going to a bar or something. Yes.
You're not leaving in the 7th to end the date early. That would be the most uncomfortable. Like if you leave in the 7th inning and don't do anything else on a second date, it's fucking over. There's no need for any other acknowledgement. You fucking know it's over. That's when you say it was nice to meet you because it is done.
That's where when you guys go to the front of the stadium and you're about to go your separate ways, you guys just kind of hug and like, I'll call you. Okay, great. Thanks.
Now,
and then you just walk away. Awkwardly.
I said this in my first conversation regarding what he's wearing, and I'm really curious for your opinion on this. I don't think I would go on a date to a baseball game until I was at a point where what I was wearing was acceptable. That might sound weird because in your head, I could see someone hearing that as, so it's ever acceptable to dress like that, and they might feel it's not. To me, like that, the way he dressed to this game is the way that I dress. So I don't know if we necessarily need to be in like an official relationship, but we have to be deep enough in dating that I can dress the way I would normally dress to a baseball game. I don't know what the number of dates is, but it's not 2.
And I'm going to agree with you 110%. You have to be at a point where you guys are pretty comfortable, right? Like, and here's the thing too. So it's like, you got to factor in Arizona, right? Arizona is hot as balls. And I don't know about you, but man, I sweat a lot. And like, my balls sweat a lot. So like, I get why he's wearing basketball shorts. Like, I get it. I don't think it's acceptable for your second date, but I get it. All right. Until we're at a point where she understands why I'm wearing basketball shorts and that's okay. Like, we're not going to the baseball game. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're not doing it.
That's not exactly what I had in mind, but I hear you.
Like, here's the thing, right? I'm the kind of guy that in like a Michigan summer, when it's like 77 degrees outside, I'm the kind of guy that will wear cargo shorts and we'll sit down and then we'll get up. And then there's a trail of butt sweat left on the seat. And I also have a little bit of perspiration on my backside by my butt. So until we're in a spot where it's comfortable and she can come up to me and be like, that's cute, and laugh about it, like my girlfriend did the other day when I was at the gym and I had ass sweat as I was bent over. And she was like, you got a bunch of butt sweat. And that's cute. Until we're at that point, I'm not going to a baseball game in Arizona unless it's okay for me to wear those shorts. That's it. That's what I'm saying. And
So
I don't
on
think
the
second
same
date's
page.
okay enough.
We're on the same page there. Do you want to hear some of the reactions? I texted a lot of people.
Dude, I can't wait. I've been waiting all day for this because you told me that you messaged a bunch of people and you got a bunch of different reactions.
All right. So the first woman I texted said, it's a bit casual, but I wouldn't care. It depends on the person. When I asked if what he was wearing was acceptable. Sorry, I sent him to the group chat. So that was an individual text, but everything else was within the context of a group chat. I can tell you everybody is on my side that it was acceptable. Like, I mean, literally everybody. I did get one woman said it depends on the shoes that he's wearing. If the shoes are nice, then we're good.
How do you feel about flip-flops or sandals on dates?
Fuck that. No, that's absolutely not okay. No.
I'm a big sandals or flip-flop guy.
One person said no masks. That's sick. We got for a baseball game, yes, that's fine. Let's see, what else can we get here? I think it's perfectly acceptable. One person wasn't even sure what I was asking. He thought the problem might be the hat. He was confused as to why there might be another problem. Actually, I had 2 people ask me, why are you like, I don't understand. What's the potential problem here? Mm-hmm. I had to explain that some people thought what he was wearing was too casual.
That's funny.
It looks like that's mostly, it makes a difference how long they've known each other. I did get a comment. I would have worn khaki shorts, not gym shorts.
Mm-hmm. I think the shorts is the big issue here, man.
I did get a joke. He should be wearing baseball pants, not basketball shorts.
That's funny.
But for the most part, everybody agreed with me that it's a baseball game. It's fine. I think everybody was drawn to the shorts as the maybe questionable decision, but I don't think anyone had an outright problem with it like you do.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, look, I'm out of the two of us.
You have very high standards for yourself.
Well, I mean, out of the two of us, I'm the fashionista. So, you know, I get it.
And I'm the one with hair.
That's true.
I mean, I don't do anything with it.
Good shit. Nice shot. Well played, D. Well played.
Well, I'm just, you wearing hats on dates, trying to hide something.
Look, man, I've started my Rogaine treatment, and I'm trying to get all this to grow back here, and I'm pulling it all forward. So
I will tell you, you're aware that, like, I'm growing my hair out because there's a style that I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I've learned in growing it out that I do have, like, it's not really a full-on bald spot, but there's a spot at the back of my hair where you can tell it's not as thick as it used to be. Mm-hmm. It's a little annoying. Thankfully, it's at the back, so, like, you can't tell if you're looking at me from the front. But, and you can't tell either when my hair is short, but it kind of caught me off guard recently. I mean,
just wait till it all goes thin and it starts falling out, and you're just like, what the hell? My dad
still has plenty of hair, and he's in his early 50s.
What was your grandpa like? Because it's your grandpa.
On one side, my grandpa has a full head of hair still.
Mom or dad?
Mom.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Really? Is that the way it works?
That's how it works.
Because on my dad's side, no hair, but on my mom's side, plenty of hair.
You'll be good. You'll be good to go. The rest of your life, you should. I mean, it might thin a little bit as you get older, but you should be okay. You shouldn't
That's
be.
basically what I'm kind of saying. Is I've noticed that there's an area in the back that's thinned more than anywhere else, and we don't need to get into that any deeper. But it caught me off guard the other day. Back to sports. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. First things first. Do we believe there's any way it happens?
I think as the days go on, I think it becomes more of a legit possibility. Not so much that he gets traded, but that he doesn't play.
That he retires? He goes the Carson Palmer route? There is literally nothing that would make me happier. Like, him being traded is cool. Mm-hmm. Him going the Carson Palmer route and saying, look, I'm not playing for you. Mm-hmm. Like, you can find out what Jordan Love has because I'm not showing up. That would be the single greatest thing that's ever happened in football.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he's out of line?
No.
Doing what he's doing?
Nope.
I don't either. And I think he's acting a little bit like a crybaby, but
that matters. Here's the thing.
I understand. He deserves to be pissed off. They've done nothing.
I don't even care about whether or not he deserves it. I actually think a great example of this, and obviously he deserves it for what he's accomplished, but LeBron James, there is no organization in basketball that LeBron James can work for where there is another employee who is worth more to the organization than him. Same deal with Aaron Rodgers. There is not a single person who works for Green Bay or who could work for Green Bay who is worth more than them to Aaron Rodgers. And that matters. That gives you leverage. That is just how business works. I'm sorry. I know a GM is supposed to be the boss of a quarterback, but when you are less valuable than the quarterback, it's just not the way it works. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Deshaun Watson in Houston. Now, unfortunately for Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson for that matter, I mean, Watson's obviously got a lot of other crap going on. Like, you're under contract. So you are a little bit limited in what you do. But if Aaron Rodgers feels as strongly as you seem to think he does, that he's willing to sit out to miss out, I don't think that's happening. I think if the Packers hold firm, what it comes down to me, is whether or not the Packers hold firm. If they hold firm, Aaron Rodgers will be starting for them on day one. If he bluffs them hard enough that they get scared, he really may just retire. Well, then you gotta trade him. If you really think he's gonna retire, you gotta trade him because it's hard to imagine, even at his age, he's not gonna fetch multiple first-round draft picks.
Oh yeah, here's the thing. I think Green Bay's kind of in a win-win situation, right? You don't want him to retire.
I mean, that's called having a great quarterback. I don't care what age he is, whether he wants that or not. If you have a great quarterback, there's a lot of options.
Leverage so much from the Raiders.
Or how about the Broncos?
Or the Broncos, for that matter. It's bananas. Send them to one of those teams.
I think
who the hell cares?
At least 2, if not 3 first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
I think 3. I think the Broncos or Raiders would give you 3 first-round draft picks for Aaron Rodgers.
I think they would both line up and say, "What do you want?"
Right.
Name
it happen.
Name it. What do you want? Because if you put Aaron Rodgers, on Denver's team, their window goes from basically being cracked open at winning a Super Bowl to now being like a door wall that has no
they're
window
a little
in it.
young. They're a little young.
They're a young team, but they have good wide receivers and they have a pretty okay defense. I don't know if pretty okay is a good way to describe it, but it's pretty okay.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers' window is 1 year, right? You're looking at probably a 3-4 year window with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, for sure.
You could argue it lines up well in a way. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's a really interesting scenario. And I'll say this, if Aaron Rodgers does end up leaving Green Bay, the NFC North is the NFC East of last year. I don't even know that there's a respectable team. Maybe Minnesota's a 9-win team. The Packers, we could also be surprised by Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Maybe he does the same thing Aaron Rodgers did his first year starting and surprises us. But if Jordan Love isn't anything special, that's a bad football team. And the Bears, I like Justin Fields. They're not a good football team right now.
Nope.
And we don't need to talk about the Lions. You might accidentally win a couple too many games next year if Aaron Rodgers isn't playing for the Packers.
Here's the thing. If Aaron Rodgers leaves the NFC North, all of a sudden you have arguably the best quarterback in the NFC North.
Okay.
At least the most decorated.
I guess you're right about the word arguably. But
he's definitely the most decorated.
I don't really want to have a conversation between Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff for who's the best quarterback.
Exactly, right? See how you're giggling about it? That's how bad it would be. That's how bad it would be.
I don't think it's out of the question that Justin Fields or Jordan Love could both be the best quarterback in the division because the bar is so low.
That's interesting.
I'm not saying it would happen for sure,
right?
But I think it's within the realm of possibility. Yeah, like Justin Herbert was damn good as a rookie. If you got Justin Herbert out of Justin Fields, he'd be the best quarterback by far in that situation.
By far. Yep. By far. And like if you're Green Bay or if you're Chicago and you're getting those types of performances, you're going to feel really good about your quarterback.
Well, and I think Justin Fields, I don't think it's out of the question Justin Fields can be that. Maybe I'm crazy. I in my head, if Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, the Packers have no quarterback. Maybe I'm not looking at that right because they did spend a first-round draft pick on him. Like, clearly they think he's the guy. I just don't know that I think he's the guy.
I don't think he's the guy, but, I mean, look, I do a podcast with you. I'm not in a GM's front office.
I mean, I'm in the front office. I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the guy who wanted Tua last year and, struggled.
And now you compare Jeff Okudah to Justin Herbert instead.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you understand. You see how this works.
But if Rodgers, like, I'll give him credit. Jim Costa's the one who said this to me, but I think it's a good point. If Aaron Rodgers were to leave, what it does is you're not competing for the division this year, even if it turns into the NFC East. But it opens up how soon you should be able to compete.
Yes.
I think that there's a case to be made.
You're in contention.
I think there's a case to be made that you should be challenging for the division next year if Aaron Rodgers is gone. That doesn't mean winning it, but like, I don't know, in a bad division, because it's not just about winning enough games. It's about the fact that when you're in a bad division, a lot of times it takes less wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's like, if Aaron Rodgers is gone, 10 wins definitely wins this division, right? Even 10-7, the new.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you might even be able to go what?
9-8,
17 game. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a 17 game season, so 9-8.
But like 10 feels like a lock.
Yeah.
Unless Jordan Love is good, which we're just going to assume he's not.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be. It's crazy that it's gotten to this point, right? But like, I understand why he's so upset, and I get it. I don't necessarily think he's conducting himself the best, but that's neither here nor there. He has demands, and it's interesting that Green Bay has let it get to this point. Because this isn't like it was all because of last season. This has been a couple seasons in the works, and he's voiced different opinions. It's just now spilling out all over the place. It's crazy to me that we're here now.
Well, we had a Green Bay writer on at my work today, and he made a really good point. In 2021, the Packers don't have anything to worry about necessarily. But after the 2022 season, they have to decide whether or not they want to pick up Jordan Love's fifth-year option. You cannot justifiably pick up a fifth-year option as a backup. It's too expensive. So basically, the clock is ticking. Even if Aaron Rodgers did not want out, it's really, really hard to not start Jordan Love in 2022 because you have two options. You sit him in 2022 and decide if he's the future of your franchise before he ever starts, or you start him in 2022 so you get a chance to see if he's the guy. And so it's hard to see a scenario where they don't start him in 2022. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, you look at it and say, you have put an expiration date on my time as a Packer. Whether or not it has anything to do with wanting more weapons, you have put an expiration date on my time as a Packer. If you're going to put an expiration date on it, well, let's just move that date up. Let's stop wasting our time and messing around. If you don't want me to be your guy, then I don't want to be here.
But doesn't it then make sense if you're Green Bay, right? And you're in this situation, you have no idea what Jordan Love's going to be. No clue. Maximize Aaron Rodgers' value to your organization. Trade him to a team like Denver and work on getting all those draft picks. Are you saying
that you think the best move that they could do is to trade Aaron Rodgers? Because that's crazy. I don't know that I agree with that. I hear you.
No, I think for their future, it absolutely is. Because you just said you could possibly get 3 first-round draft picks.
I would say if I was the Packers, and I don't know that this would actually satisfy him.
I don't know if it'll happen either.
I don't know if this will actually satisfy him. But if trading Jordan Love would satisfy him, I would trade Jordan Love for a 3rd-round draft pick before I would trade Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know. I think
and I think you could get at least a second. I know that would be investing backwards, basically.
Yeah.
Because they used the first to get him, and they traded up to get him too. But I would rather squeeze every single last drop out of the toothpaste that is Aaron Rodgers that I could get before I went to Jordan Love.
It is. You're in a bit of a pickle here, right? Because you've got a backup quarterback that, like you said, you can't necessarily pick up that 5th-year option. You also have an aging veteran quarterback. You've got to look forward to what's best for your franchise and your organization.
Nope. They're Super Bowl contenders. It's silly. It is silly to just throw it away.
They're playoff contenders. I don't know if I'd go Super Bowl contenders. You've given him nothing. Like he doesn't have a ton to work with. You know, like he's carried this team as far as he can carry them, and he generally gets them to the NFC Championship game where they lose. And you've done nothing to really help him out. You
don't really think a team that's been to back-to-back NFC Championship games is maybe not a Super Bowl contender? What's a Super Bowl contender? I think Green Bay might have been a better team than Tampa Bay for the majority of last year. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC, but they're not a Super Bowl contender.
Here, look at those offenses, right?
I'm not saying they're the favorites, but
I totally get what you're saying. But what I'm saying to you is they don't give him enough to really work with. He's had to create guys out of nothing,
and he's good enough to do it.
You're right. And they've rode that ticket, and they've rode that horse. And you know what? That horse is now tired. And he's saying, you need to give me more. Because I can't just keep waving my hand over the hat and pulling bunnies out.
I'm going to theorize that you said that they're not contenders.
Okay.
And after this discussion, have realized you're wrong, but won't give it up. We both know you do that. My theory is that's what's happening right now.
I honestly don't believe they're Super Bowl contenders. I don't think so. I think they're playoff contenders, and I think this is a team that will.
They're
unless they change something, this is a team that will consistently get to the doorstep and not be able to get over the hump. And you're right. I do that. We'll get to that.
They're playoff blocks, and maybe they're outside Super Bowl contenders. You know, maybe they're on the fringe.
Uh-huh.
And if you genuinely don't believe there's any way where Aaron Rodgers wins another Super Bowl in Green Bay, you're right. You should trade him. I just don't. I don't see things the same way you do. That's good for me. Anything else you need to get to today?
You ever have a job where you're trained really, really well, and they give you a lot of training, but you just don't feel like you know shit?
Not really.
No.
Well, so here, I'll say this. When I was at iHeart the first time, the system for running the computers there is very complicated.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get comfortable with it. So I had that a little bit.
I struggled with that too. I got cussed out by Tony a couple times because I had messed a few things up.
What I started telling people when I would train them is like, you're going to make major mistakes. Like, you're just going to.
For sure.
And then by the second time around, when I got hired here in Houston, when they were training me, this is not a joke, by the way. When they were training me, I was like, hold on, you're doing this in such an inefficient way. Let me show you the better way to do this. Which is like the greatest thing ever. Being trained and being like, hold on, like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Is it really? They probably hated me, but it's a cool feeling.
Let me give you an example of how my day went today. Actually, my last 2 days. So I ended up getting a file. I got a loan, and I spent over 5.5 hours working it, only to go grab my team lead and him to be like, yeah, you're doing an okay job, but you need to do this, 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 and this. It was a complete mess. It was a disaster, and I was drowning in it. And then after that, the way its day ended up going, I ended up clearing a loan for a lady. I called the broker and I was like, hey, everything's good. At some point I was like, I've seen your note about the gift funds. They're going to be using like a gift of like $25,000. And I was like, that's cool. I was like, we're just going to need that gift letter at some point. And she's like, okay, cool. She's like, I have some questions about the gift letter. And I was like, okay, what's up? And she's like, so I've got to document everything, right? And in my head, I'm like, I don't fucking remember. And I'm like, she's like, so like, you know, I gotta be able to. I was like, well, tell me what's going on. Like, just trying to buy myself some time.
Right.
I was like, tell me what's going on. She's like, well, she's gonna be moving all this money over from one account to another account, and then she'll be moving more money into that account to be moving more money into this account and closing out one of these accounts. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so this is what we're going to need. And I'm just like, I'm bullshitting right now because I don't remember any of this. And I was totally not prepared for this. And I should have been prepared for this. Totally was not. I was like, yeah, so we're going to need that gift fund.
We both know how much you enjoyed your training.
Right. Yeah, I slept through most of it. We're going to need the gift funds receipt. We're going to need the wire receipt. We're going to need, we're going to have to document all those bank accounts. So you're going to have to
So you're requiring her to do way more work than was probably necessary.
No, I honestly, I believe that that's the right answer, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll find out.
And now you're putting it on a podcast. That right there is the difference between me and you. I'd bury that shit. You're like, no, put it out for the world to see.
Put it out there. I'm transparent, bro. I'm just wondering if anybody else has ever had been in a position where they've been essentially given their job and they've gone through their training, but they feel like they're so far in over their head. All
right. Well, at Adam R. Stroz on Twitter, I think. I don't say it very often. Yes! At Brendan Riley _ on Twitter. If you have gone through all this intense training to find out you don't know what the hell you're doing at your job. If you're a doctor, don't tell us if that's the case. We would rather not know that.